Before we begin, I want you to think about one simple question. If your life looked exactly the same 1 year from now, same income, same habits, same excuses, same stress, would you be proud or disappointed? Because for many people, the most painful feeling isn't failure. It's waking up one day and realizing you knew you were capable of more, but you waited too long to act. Every year we tell ourselves, next year will be different. Next year I'll focus. Next year I'll finally go all in. But next year never changes unless you do. Tonight isn't about motivation. It's about a decision to stop postponing your life, a decision to stop surviving and start leading. Because 2026 is coming, whether you're ready or not. And the only real question is this: will it happen to you, or will you take control of it? Ladies and gentlemen, let me start with a hard truth most people don't want to hear. Your life looks the way it does right now because of the decisions you've been making or avoiding, not your background, not the economy, not your past mistakes, your choices. And if nothing changes, 2026 will look exactly like 2025, just with more regret. See, time is not free. It only feels free because you don't get the bill immediately. But make no mistake, every hour you waste today is stealing from the life you say you want tomorrow. Most people aren't failing because they're incapable. They're failing because they're comfortable being distracted, scrolling, complaining, waiting for motivation, waiting for permission, waiting for the right time. Let me tell you something powerful. The right time is a decision, not a date. Choosing yourself doesn't mean being selfish. It means you finally stop betraying your potential. It means you wake up and say, I'm done outsourcing my future to luck, fear, and other people's opinions. Choosing yourself means radical responsibility. No more blaming your parents, your boss, your partner, your past. Because blame feels good, but it keeps you powerless. And power only comes when you say, this is my life and I'm in control. Here's the difference between winners and everyone else. Winners don't wait to feel ready. They move while they're afraid. They understand that discipline is more important than motivation. Motivation shows up when it feels like it. Discipline shows up no matter what. And discipline compounds. Small decisions, daily actions, done consistently. That's how ordinary people build extraordinary lives. But let me warn you, you cannot choose a powerful future while staying in a toxic environment. If you keep listening to broke thinking, you'll stay broke. If you keep hanging around low standards, your standards will drop. If you keep consuming negativity, your vision will shrink. Your environment is voting on your future every single day. So in 2026, you must raise your standards for how you think, for how you work, for what you tolerate. Because the life you want requires a version of you that you haven't met yet. And that version of you is built, not wished for. So here's my challenge to you. Stop waiting. Stop hesitating. Stop negotiating with your comfort zone. Decide that 2026 is the year you execute, the year you choose growth over excuses, the year you choose discipline over distraction, the year you finally choose yourself, because no one is coming to save you. And once you understand that, you become unstoppable. Time is the most expensive currency you own, yet it's the one people spend with the least intention. Money comes and goes. You can lose it, invest it poorly, make a mistake, and still recover. But time works differently. Once a moment passes, it is gone forever. You cannot rewind it, refinance it, or earn it back. Every second you live is a withdrawal from a non-renewable account. And the tragedy is that most people don't realize its value until the balance is almost empty. Think about this. Everyone is given the same 24 hours, but not everyone gets the same life. The difference is not intelligence, luck, or talent. It's how time is used. Time quietly converts into results. What you do daily becomes who you are eventually. Your habits are simply time investments in disguise. When you waste time, you're not just losing minutes, you're selling your future at a discount. Time doesn't announce when it's being wasted. It disguises itself as comfort, distraction, and harmless entertainment. It looks like just one more scroll, I'll start tomorrow, or I'm not ready yet. But those small decisions compound into years of delay. And delay is expensive. It costs confidence, it costs opportunity, it costs the life you could have lived. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Time doesn't care about your intentions. It only responds to action. You don't get rewarded for plans, dreams, or potential. You get paid in proportion to what you do with the time you're given. That's why regret is so heavy. It's the realization that time was spent, but nothing meaningful was built, successful. People don't have more time, they have more respect for it. They understand that saying yes to one thing automatically means saying no to something else. Every hour invested in growth is an hour protected from regret. Every hour wasted is a vote for the same results you already have. Time is brutally fair. It treats everyone the same, but it exposes everyone differently. It exposes discipline or lack of it, focus or distraction, courage or fear. And eventually time reveals the truth, not what you wanted, but what you chose. One day, time will ask you for a return on the years it gave you, not in words, but in results. The question is whether those results will reflect intention or excuses, because time is always speaking. The real question is whether you are listening or spending it like you have forever. Most people are living on autopilot, not because they consciously chose that life, but because they never chose anything at all. Their days look the same, their weeks blur together, and years pass without any clear memory of when they actually took control. Life becomes a routine of reacting instead of leading, waking up, rushing, working, scrolling, sleeping, and repeating. Not because that's what they want, but because it's familiar, and familiarity feels safer than change. Autopilot is comfortable. It doesn't require courage, discipline, or decision-making. It allows people to drift without confronting the uncomfortable questions. Is this the life I want? Am I becoming who I said I would be? Am I using my potential or just protecting my comfort? When those questions go unanswered, habits take over. And habits, when left unchecked, become a prison disguised as normal life. The danger of autopilot is not failure, it's numbness. People stop expecting more from themselves. Dreams get postponed, then quietly buried under responsibilities, excuses, and fear of judgment. I'll do it later becomes the most repeated lie, and later slowly turns into never. Not because people are lazy, but because they are distracted, overwhelmed, and conditioned to settle. Autopilot is programmed by environment, by the people you listen to, the content you consume, and the standards you tolerate. If everyone around you is surviving instead of building, you begin to believe survival is success. If mediocrity is normalized, excellence starts to feel unrealistic. Without realizing it, people outsource their thinking and let the world decide what's possible for them. Living on autopilot also creates the illusion of busyness. People feel productive because they are exhausted, yet they are not progressing. Movement replaces momentum. Activity replaces achievement. And at the end of the day, there's little to show for all the effort except fatigue and frustration. This is how people stay stuck while telling themselves they are trying. Breaking autopilot requires awareness, and awareness is uncomfortable. It forces you to admit that no one is coming to rescue you, that your current life is the result of repeated choices, even the ones you didn't think were choices at all. It means accepting responsibility not just for what you did, but for what you avoided. The moment you turn off autopilot is the moment you start living intentionally. You begin to chose instead of drift. You stop reacting and start designing. And that single shift from unconscious living to deliberate action is what separates a life that happens to you from a life you are proud to own. Most people are living on autopilot, not by choice, but by default. They didn't wake up one day and decide to live a small, repetitive, unfulfilled life. It happened slowly, quietly, through unexamined routines and unchallenged habits. Days became schedules. Schedules became years, and before they realized that they were living a life they never consciously designed. Autopilot doesn't announce itself, it feels normal. That's what makes it dangerous. Autopilot is built through repetition. Waking up at the same time, rushing through the same mornings, having the same conversations, complaining about the same problems, and ending the day exhausted but unsatisfied. People mistake this cycle for stability, but stability without progress slowly turns into stagnation. When life becomes predictable, ambition fades, curiosity shrinks, dreams don't die dramatically, they fade quietly through neglect. Fear plays a major role in keeping people on autopilot. Fear of failing, fear of being judged, fear of starting over. So instead of risking discomfort, people choose familiarity. They stay in jobs they dislike, relationships that drain them, and routines that limit them. not because they want to, but because change feels uncertain. Autopilot feels safer than responsibility. It allows people to say, this is just how life is, instead of admitting, this is what I'm allowing. Another reason autopilot is so common is distraction. Modern life rewards attention theft. Endless scrolling, constant notifications, and surface-level entertainment keep people occupied but disconnected from themselves. When the mind is always busy, there's no space to reflect, plan, or question directio. Distraction becomes a form of escape from silence, from truth, from the uncomfortable realization that more is possible. Autopilot also creates the illusion of effort. People feel tired, so they assume they are working hard. But exhaustion doesn't always come from progress. It often comes from resistance, from doing things that don't align with purpose, from moving without direction, from living reactively instead of intentionally. Being busy is not the same as building something meaningful. The most dangerous part of autopilot is that it slowly lowers standards. What once felt unacceptable becomes tolerable. What once motivated you becomes unrealistic. Over time, people stop asking for more from life and from themselves. They begin to measure success by survival instead of growth. And when years pass, the pain isn't always loud regret. It's quiet disappointment. Breaking free from autopilot requires awareness and courage. Awareness to recognize that your current life is the result of accumulated choices, including the choice to avoid choosing. Courage to interrupt patterns, question routines, and take responsibility for direction. The moment you turn off autopilot is the moment you reclaim authorship over your life. Not because it's easy, but because continuing unconsciously is far more costly. Choosing yourself means taking radical responsibility, and radical responsibility is one of the hardest and most liberating decisions a person can ever make. It means you stop waiting for circumstances to change and accept that your life is exactly where it is because of the choices you've made, the standards you've accepted, and the actions you've repeated. Not because you're a bad person, but because responsibility is the price of freedom. Until you pay that price, you remain stuck blaming things that cannot save you. Radical responsibility begins where excuses end. The moment you realize that blaming your past, your parents, the economy, your boss, or your lack of resources might feel justified, but it keeps you powerless. Blame gives temporary relief, but it steals long-term control. When you choose yourself, you stop asking, why did this happen to me? And start asking, what am I going to do about it? That shift changes everything. Taking responsibility doesn't mean denying hardship or pretending life has been fair. It means acknowledging reality without surrendering to it. You can recognize the obstacles in your path without making them your identity. Radical responsibility says, I didn't choose everything that happened to me, but I choose how I respond, what I learn, and who I become because of it. That mindset turns pain into leverage and setbacks into strategy. Most people avoid responsibility because it feels heavy. It removes the comfort of victimhood and demands action. It forces you to confront uncomfortable truths about your habits, your discipline, and your follow-through. But the same responsibility people fear is the exact thing that gives them power. The moment you accept full ownership of your life is the moment you gain the authority to change it. Choosing yourself also means holding yourself to a higher standard when no one is watching. It means doing what's required even when it's inconvenient, uncomfortable, or unpopular. Radical responsibility doesn't wait for motivation, approval, or perfect conditions. It operates on commitment. It understands that consistency beats intensity and that small daily choices, when owned fully, reshape an entire future. There's no growth without responsibility. Every level of success demands a higher level of ownership. The more responsibility you can carry, the more freedom you earn. When you choose yourself, you stop negotiating with your potential and start honoring it. You stop outsourcing your future to hope and start building it with intention. Radical responsibility is not punishment, it's permission. Permission to step into the life you claim you want and finally take control of it. Discipline is the bridge between vision and results, and without it, even the most powerful vision remains nothing more than a fantasy. Everyone has ideas. Everyone can imagine a better future, but very few people are willing to do what is required consistently enough to make that future real. Vision shows you where you want to go. Discipline is what gets you there when motivation disappears and excitement fades. Most people wait to feel inspired before they act. They rely on emotion to drive progress, but emotion is unreliable. It changes with mood, comfort, and circumstances. Discipline, on the other hand, does not negotiate. It shows up on good days and bad days. It works when you're tired, when no one is watching, and when the results are still invisible. That is why discipline separates dreamers from builders. Discipline is not about being extreme, it's about being consistent. It's the willingness to do small, unglamorous actions repeatedly without immediate reward. It's waking up when you don't feel like it. It's saying no to distractions that feel good now but cost you later. It's choosing long-term growth over short-term comfort. These decisions may seem insignificant in the moment, but over time they compound into extraordinary outcomes. Many people misunderstand discipline and see it as restriction, but in reality, discipline creates freedom. The discipline to manage your time gives you control over your life. The discipline to improve your skills gives you options. The discipline to control your habits gives you confidence. A lack of discipline might feel free in the moment, but it eventually leads to limitation, stress, and regret. The hardest part of discipline is that it doesn't give instant feedback. You don't always see progress right away. You work, you show up, you sacrifice, and for a while, nothing seems to change. This is where most people quit. But discipline understands that results are delayed, not denied. It trusts the process even when evidence is not yet visible. Every result you admire in someone else's life is built on a foundation of disciplined choices you never saw. Behind every success story is a series of boring, repetitive actions done with commitment. Discipline is not talent, luck, or intelligence. It is a decision made daily to honor your vision with action. When you embrace discipline, you stop hoping for change and start producing it. Your ENV. Environment is either building you or breaking you. And most people underestimate just how much power it has over their lives. Environment is not just the place you live in, it's the people you spend time with, the conversations you engage in, the content you consume, and the standards that surround you every day. Over time, these influences quietly shape how you think, what you believe is possible, and what you expect from yourself. Human beings are adaptive by nature. We adjust to what's normal around us. If mediocrity is normal, excellence feels unnecessary. If complaining is normal, accountability feels uncomfortable. If procrastination is normal, discipline feels extreme. This is how people slowly drift away from their potential, not because they lack ability, but because their environment keeps reinforcing lower standards without them realizing it. The people around you are one of the strongest environmental forces in your life. You don't need negative people to destroy progress. You only need people who are comfortable staying the same. When ambition makes others uncomfortable, they will often discourage it under the disguise of concern. They call it being realistic, but in reality, it's fear being projected. Over time, constant exposure to limited thinking shrinks your own vision. Your digital environment is just as powerful. What you watch, read, and listen to feeds your subconscious daily. If your mind is filled with negativity, gossip, and distraction, clarity becomes rare, focus weakens, motivation fades. But when your environment is filled with ideas that challenge you, standards that stretch you, and voices that encourage growth, your thinking elevates naturally. Environment also determines what feels easy and what feels difficult. In a supportive environment, discipline feels normal. In a toxic one, even small positive changes feel exhausting. This is high willpower alone is rarely enough. If your surroundings constantly pull you backward, progress becomes a constant fight. But when your environment is aligned with who you want to become, growth feels sustainable. Choosing your environment is an act of self-respect. It means being intentional about what you allow into your life. It means setting boundaries, even when they feel uncomfortable. It means understanding that protecting your mindset is not arrogance, it's survival. You cannot grow in the same conditions that are keeping you small. Over time, your environment will always win if you don't consciously design it. It will either push you forward or pull you back. There is no neutral ground. When you take control of your environment, you take control of your trajectory. And that decision alone can change the direction of your entire life. 2026 must be the year of execution, not excuses, because at some point, preparation turns into procrastination and potential turns into regret. Most people already know what they need to do. They've read the books, watched the videos, taken the notes, and had the conversations. Information is no longer the problem. The problem is delay. The problem is waiting for confidence, clarity, or perfect conditions that never arrive. Execution is the only thing that separates those who move forward from those who stay stuck. Excuses are subtle. They sound reasonable. I'm still learning. I need more time. I'll start when things slow down. But life doesn't slow down. Responsibilities increase, distractions multiply, and fear grows stronger the longer action is postponed. Excuses protect comfort in the short term, but they cost growth in the long term. And the price is always paid later with interest. Execution is uncomfortable because it exposes you. When you execute, you risk failing, being judged, and discovering your current limits. Excuses keep you safe from those feelings, but they also keep you invisible. You can't win a game you refuse to play. Progress only rewards movement, not intention. The world responds to action, not potential. 2026 must be different because repetition without change leads to stagnation. You cannot keep carrying the same goals into a new year with the same habits and expect a different outcome. Execution demands a shift from talking to doing, from planning to producing, from waiting to starting. It means acting before you feel ready and adjusting as you move forward. Execution is not about doing everything at once. It's about doing the right things consistently. It's choosing progress over perfection. It's understanding that imperfect action beats perfect intention every time. Momentum is built by starting small and showing up daily, even when the results are not immediate. Every excuse you eliminate creates space for growth. Every action you take builds confidence. Confidence is not something you wait for. It is something you earn through execution. By the end of 2026, the difference between regret and pride will not be talent, luck, or opportunity. It will be whether you decided to move when it was uncomfortable or stayed still because it was familiar. Execution is the commitment to stop negotiating with your future and start honoring it with action. As we stand at the edge of 2026, understand this. Time is not waiting, life is not slowing down, and potential does not reward hesitation. You now know the cost of wasted time, the danger of living on autopilot, and the power that comes from taking full responsibility. You've seen that discipline is not punishment, your environment is not neutral, and excuses are far more expensive than effort. This moment is your line in the sand. You don't need permission, you don't need perfect conditions, you don't need to be fearless. You just need to decide. Decide that you will no longer drift through days you can never get back. Decide that you will no longer live a life chosen by habits, fear, or other people's expectations. Decide that 2026 will not be remembered as another year you talked about change, but the year you became it, because choosing yourself is not a one-time event. It's a daily commitment, a daily standard, a daily action. And if you leave here with nothing else, remember this. Your future is not created by what you intend to do. It is created by what you repeatedly do. So step forward, execute, take control. Choose yourself, starting now.